Your Mazda has a setting buried inside it that most owners never touch in the entire time they own the car, not because it's hidden in some sinister way, because nobody ever tells you it's there. Today we're counting down 13 features hiding in plain sight on your dashboard, your key fob, and your infotainment screen. Some of these take 30 seconds to try, others take 15 minutes to fully appreciate. All of them are already sitting in your car right now. Number 1 ties every single one of them together and almost nobody ever finds it. Let's get into it. Number 13, the key fob window trick. You lock your car every day with that fob. You have no idea what else it does. Most people treat a key fob like a single-purpose tool. Press once, doors lock, walk away. It's actually got a lot more range than that. Hold down the lock button on most Mazda key fobs for a few extra seconds, and all 4 windows roll up together, along with the sunroof if you have one. Hold the unlock button instead, and everything opens at once. No climbing into a hot car in July to crank down 4 separate windows one at a time. This works from surprisingly far away too, well beyond the range most people assume a key fob is even good for. My cousin found this by accident standing in a parking lot mashing buttons because she'd locked her keys inside with the windows cracked. She panicked her way into a feature. It was 90-something degrees outside, her toddler's snacks were melting on the back seat, and she was 3 minutes away from calling a locksmith out of pure desperation. Instead, she held the unlock button a little too long out of frustration, and every window dropped at once like the car had been waiting for her to just try harder. She now tells this story like she discovered fire. Technically, she just discovered a button she'd been holding wrong for 2 years. Try it in your own driveway before you read the next one. It works better than you're expecting it to. Test the unlock and hold version too. Watching 4 windows and a sunroof all move at once never quite stops being satisfying no matter how many times you do it. That one's satisfying. The next one is something the mirror on your passenger side has been quietly doing without permission. Number 12, the reverse mirror. Tilt curbs are sneaky. Your wheels find them at the worst possible moment, usually while someone's watching. Scraped alloy wheels are one of the most common and most avoidable cosmetic repairs on any car, and most of it comes down to simply not seeing the curb in time. Many Mazdas will automatically tilt one side mirror downward when you shift into reverse, giving you a clear view of the curb or the parking block you're about to introduce yourself to. If yours doesn't do it automatically, there's usually a manual version. Hold the mirror adjustment button while in reverse and tilt it down yourself. It resets back to its normal position the moment you shift out of reverse, so you never have to remember to fix it afterward. Some models let you save the tilted down angle as its own memory position too, so it snaps to exactly the same spot every single time. A guy in my apartment complex used to get out and physically check his back tire distance from the curb every single time he parked. Every time, like clockwork. He'd walk around the whole car, crouch down, squint at the tire, then get back in satisfied. A whole ritual, every single parking spot, for years. Neighbors started timing him without telling him. The ritual added, on average, about 90 seconds to every single parking attempt, rain or shine. Someone finally pointed at his mirror mid-tilt one day and just said, "That's already doing it." He stood there in silence for a solid 5 seconds. He still checks manually sometimes. Old habits apparently die harder than curbs die from being hit. He's cut his exit and inspect ritual down from every parking spot to maybe 1 in 5. Progress is progress. Now's a good time to hit subscribe, because the feature tying this entire list together is still ahead, and it's the one that makes the rest of these make sense. Number 11, the double tap sunroof. Combo. Most owners open the sunshade, wait for it to finish, then separately open the sunroof. 2 steps, 2 waits, mild impatience. Tap the sunroof button twice quickly instead, and the shade and the glass both open together in one smooth motion. No waiting in between. The timing window is generous enough that you don't need to be precise about it. A quick double tap, roughly like double-clicking a mouse, is all it takes. It sounds small until you've done it the slow way for 3 years, and then discover the fast way exists the whole time. Every single road trip, every single parking garage exit, doing it the long way without ever questioning why it took so long. My brother-in-law timed his old method once, out loud, competitively, for reasons nobody asked him to explain. 9 seconds, he announced proudly to an empty car. The double tap version does it in about half that. He has not brought up the timing since. Small feature, large ego adjustment. The next one lives inside your infotainment screen and most people never touch it either. Number 10, switching inputs. With one button CarPlay freezes, Android auto glitches. You want back to the regular Mazda Connect screen without digging through 3 menus. It's one of those problems that always seems to happen at the worst time, usually mid-navigation, usually when you actually need the map. Hold down the home button on the console for a couple seconds and the system cycles you straight between Mazda Connect, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. No hunting through settings. No connecting and disconnecting your phone like you're troubleshooting a printer from 2004. It works the same way regardless of which screen you're currently stuck on, which makes it the closest thing your dashboard has to a universal reset button. This also works if you've simply forgotten which mode you left the car in the last time you drove it, which happens more often than anyone wants to admit. A friend of mine used to unplug her phone entirely every time CarPlay acted up, like she was rebooting a modem. Full cable removal, dramatic pause, replug. She'd sit there for a solid 30 seconds each time, phone in hand, waiting for the screen to reconnect like she was negotiating with it. At one point, she started narrating the process out loud to the car, which is either a sign of frustration or a sign she needed a longer commute to think about her choices. Someone showed her the hold and cycle trick in a parking lot once. She looked personally betrayed by her own car for not mentioning it sooner. The screen has more opinions than you'd think. The next hidden setting decides what greets you the second you start the engine. Number 9, the startup camera. Priority setting. Some mornings you want your stereo. Other mornings, backing out of a packed garage, you want the 360 camera up immediately. Most people never think to ask their car for anything the moment it starts. They just wait for the radio to finish loading and go. Buried in the settings menu is an option to set your 360-degree camera to display automatically the moment you start the car, before you've even shifted into reverse. There's also a version of this setting that lets you choose exactly which camera angle shows up by default, not just whether it appears at all. Most owners only ever see the camera when they're already backing up, which is exactly one moment too late if something's directly behind the bumper. By the time the camera pops up mid-reverse, you've usually already committed to the motion. The setting just moves that moment earlier. It's a small change in timing, but it's the difference between seeing an obstacle before you move and seeing it while you're already moving toward it. My uncle, tight garage and all, spent months easing out by memory and prayer. He has a large garage. He also has narrow judgment about distances. Someone flipped this setting on for him during an oil change. He now claims he always drove carefully. His garage door has scars that disagree. The scars predate the setting change by roughly 2 years, which is a timeline he's not eager to discuss in detail. He has, however, started giving unsolicited advice to anyone with a tight garage, which is either generosity or a coping mechanism, possibly both. Small setting, real peace of mind. The next one is sitting right above your steering wheel and most drivers never adjust it once. Comment below, what's a feature on your Mazda you assumed worked one way until it turned out to work a completely different way? Number 8, HUD height. Calibration. Your heads-up display shows your speed floating just above the hood. Most drivers accept wherever it landed on day one and never touch it again. It's easy to assume it's fixed in place, like a permanent fixture rather than something you're actually supposed to adjust for your own height and seat position. If it's positioned too low or too high for your eye line, you're making tiny eye movements every single time you check your speed, which adds up over a long drive. The calibration setting takes less than a minute. Adjust the height until the numbers land right where your eyes naturally rest on the road ahead. Once it's set correctly, you stop noticing it entirely, which is honestly the whole point of a heads-up display in the first place. A coworker of mine drove for 2 years with his HUD sitting slightly too low, angled toward the dashboard like it was shy about sharing his speed with him. He assumed that was just how it worked. It was not how it worked. It was how he'd left it by accident during a test drive in 2022. The salesperson who handed him the keys that day never touched the HUD at all. Neither did he for 2 entire years, out of pure habit. 2 minutes of adjusting, and he says driving feels less like squinting at a receipt. The next feature lives on a knob most people never fully explore. Number 7, the commander knob's hidden buttons. You twist the commander knob to scroll menus. That's the extent of what most owners ever ask it to do. It's positioned right at your hand's natural resting spot on the console, which is a strong hint that it was designed to do more than just spin. Around that dial sits a ring of shortcut buttons, giving you direct jumps to navigation, media, and other menus without scrolling through screens to find them. Mazda's own guidance is to rest your palm on the knob so your fingers naturally land on those buttons without needing to look down while driving. It's a small ergonomic detail, but it's the kind of thing that separates designed by someone who drives from designed by someone who doesn't. My sister only ever used the twist function for 4 years straight, scrolling through 6 menus every single time she wanted to switch from music to navigation. She'd narrate it too, half to herself, half to whoever was in the passenger seat. Menu, scroll, 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 select, wrong one, back, scroll again. I showed her the shortcut ring during a road trip. She went quiet, pressed one button, and got to navigation in about 1/5 of the time. She has not stopped talking about it since, which is somehow worse than the 4 years of silence about the features she didn't know existed. She's since renamed the shortcut ring the thing that fixed my life, which is a significant amount of credit to give a plastic dial. That knob's got more going on than a twist dial. The next feature is one your engine's been quietly doing without ever announcing itself. Comment your number. Which one of these that we've mentioned have you never once touched? I'll read every single one, and I will not be surprised if it's most of them. Bonus points if you go check your settings menu tonight and come back to report what you found. I promise it's more interesting than you're expecting. Number 6, the faster. I-stop. Restart. Your engine shuts off at red lights to save fuel, then restarts the second you lift off the brake. Most owners just accept the little shutter and move on. Some drivers switch it off entirely on day one, treating it as an annoyance rather than a feature that's actually doing them a favor at the pump. Mazda's I-stop system restarts the engine differently than older stop-start systems, using a method that gets you back to power noticeably faster than a standard starter motor cranking over. Drivers coming from other brands sometimes switch. I stop off entirely, assuming it'll feel clunky like the system in their last car. It's worth actually testing it first. The restart is quick enough that on a lot of models you genuinely miss it if you weren't paying close attention to the tachometer. A friend who leased a different brand for years swore off any stop-start system forever after one rough experience. Called it the shutter that ruined 2019. He tells this story with the same intensity most people reserve for actual car accidents, which tells you everything about how personally he took it. He drove my Mazda for a weekend and didn't even notice I-stop was active until I pointed it out. His whole worldview needed a brief recalibration. He's since started asking pointed questions about whether his old car was really as bad as he remembered, or if he was just primed to expect the worst. Give it an honest week before you switch it off out of habit. The next feature is one most drivers have never actually felt working. Number 5, G-vectoring control. Plus, this one has a name that sounds like marketing. It is not marketing. It's real engineering working in the background on every single turn you take. If you saw the name on a spec sheet without context, you'd assume it was a sticker slapped on for the brochure. It isn't. The system makes tiny adjustments to engine torque as you steer, subtly shifting weight onto the front tires to smooth out the car's response through corners. You're not meant to notice it directly. You're meant to notice that the car simply feels more planted and less twitchy than you'd expect, especially on winding roads. It's the automotive equivalent of a good editor. You never see the work directly, you just notice the final product feels cleaner than it has any right to. My neighbor insists his Mazda just handles better than it should for the price, which is a very confident opinion from a man who has never once looked up why. He's compared it unfavorably to 2 more expensive cars he's owned, entirely unaware that a chunk of that feeling has a name and an engineering team behind it. I told him about G-vectoring control plus. He nodded slowly, the way people do when they're pretending they already knew, which he absolutely did not. It's the kind of feature that works precisely because nobody notices it. The next one is the opposite. Impossible to miss once you actually use it right. If you've gotten this far, hit the like button. It supports the channel more than you know. Number 4, radar cruise control's full stop and go. Basic cruise control just holds a speed. Plenty of drivers assume Mazda's radar cruise does the same thing, only fancier. That assumption usually lasts right up until the first real traffic jam, when the difference becomes impossible to ignore. It doesn't. The radar system tracks the car ahead of you and adjusts your speed to match traffic. On many models, it can bring you to a complete stop and resume again without you touching the pedals. Drivers used to older cruise control often tap the brakes out of habit the second traffic slows, completely overriding a system that was already handling it. It's a hard habit to unlearn, mostly because it feels responsible, even when the car was already 3 steps ahead of you. A friend of mine white-knuckled through her first traffic jam with radar cruise engaged, hovering her foot over the brake the entire time like the car might betray her. Her exact words afterward were, "I didn't trust it, but I also didn't trust myself to explain why I didn't trust it," which is a very honest way to describe new tech anxiety. It didn't betray her. It stopped smoothly behind the car in front, waited, and resumed exactly like it was designed to. She apologized to her own car afterward, out loud. She now describes the system as more trustworthy than most people she's dated, which says more about her dating history than her cruise control, honestly. Trust the system on an empty stretch of highway first before you rely on it in real traffic. The next feature is one you can genuinely undo by accident. Number 3, the Eye Active Sense. Safety settings. Your Mazda comes loaded with driver assist features, lane keeping, blind spot monitoring, forward collision warning, all switched on by default from the factory. Most owners never think about these systems at all until something feels off, and by then it's not always obvious what actually changed. These settings live in a menu most owners open exactly once, usually by accident, during the first week of ownership while poking around out of curiosity. Sensitivity levels can be adjusted here, and it's entirely possible to accidentally lower or disable something useful without fully realizing what you just turned off. There's no dramatic warning when it happens either. The setting just quietly changes and your car starts behaving a little differently the next time you drive it. A coworker's spouse found the menu during a red light, tapped through it out of boredom, and unknowingly dialed the lane-keeping sensitivity down to nearly nothing. She wasn't trying to change anything. She was just tapping around the way you'd flip through channels, and one of those taps happened to land somewhere consequential. For 3 months, she assumed her lane-keeping assist just wasn't very good. It wasn't broken. It had been quietly muted by an idle thumb at a stoplight. She found the setting again, restored it, and immediately texted her husband a single word: "Oops." He still doesn't know the full story. He assumes it was a software update. She has not corrected this assumption, and honestly, at this point, neither will we. Worth a look, if only to confirm everything's set the way you actually want it. The next 2 features are the ones this entire list has been circling. Number 2, driver personalization. Profiles, your seat position, mirror angles, climate temperature, HUD height, steering wheel position, and infotainment layout can all live inside one saved profile tied to your specific key fob. That's 6 or 7 manual adjustments, every single time someone new gets behind the wheel, all replaced by one profile switching automatically in the background. Walk up with your fob, and the car can automatically recognize you and load your exact settings before you've even sat down. No manual adjusting required. Multiple drivers in one household means multiple profiles, each one switching automatically based on which key fob unlocked the door. Nobody has to remember to switch anything manually. The car does the remembering, which is more than most of us manage for our own passwords. My roommate and I share a Mazda, and for months we readjusted the seat and mirrors every single time we swapped, like we were meeting the car for the first time daily. We each had our own little muscle memory routine. Seat forward, mirror left, mirror right, wheel up, every single handoff, without either of us questioning why. Setting up separate profiles took about 5 minutes total. We have not manually adjusted a mirror since, and the resulting silence in the car is deeply satisfying. We also apparently had wildly different hoodie height preferences this whole time, which we only discovered once the profiles started switching automatically. Turns out one of us had been driving with the display nearly at windshield top height for a year, which explains a few things about certain near misses. This is the feature that makes everything personal. The very last one is the feature that makes everything possible in the first place. Number 1, the full vehicle personalization. Menu. Here it is, the one 99% of owners never actually open, sitting quietly underneath every single feature on this entire list. Not a hidden button, not a secret handshake with the steering wheel, not a combination of pedals held at the right moment, just a menu, waiting. Nearly everything we've covered today lives inside one central settings menu most owners never scroll past the first screen of. 13 features, one shared address. It's a strange thing to realize after the fact that the whole list was pointing at the same door the entire time. The HUD calibration, the camera priority setting, the eye active sense sensitivity, the driver profiles, all of it, buried in the same place. It's not hidden behind a passcode or a secret handshake. It's just sitting there, one tap away from the home screen, waiting for someone to actually look. You've probably scrolled past the icon for it 100 times without a second thought, the same way you'd walk past a door in a building you visit every day. Most people treat their infotainment system like a radio with extra steps. Volume, station, done. The actual settings menu goes untouched for the entire life of the car. It's not a knock on anyone. Manuals are thick, menus are unfamiliar, and most of us are just trying to get out of the driveway on time. Picture every single person from this list. My cousin with the fob, the curb-checking neighbor, my brother-in-law with the stopwatch, my uncle and his garage scars. All of them owning cars packed with settings they never opened once. Add the coworker with the sunken HUD, the roommate readjusting mirrors daily, the spouse who muted her own lane assist by accident. Same story, different names, same unopened menu. Add the guy who merged onto the highway convinced his handling was just naturally good, never once wondering if there was an actual system behind the feeling. None of them are careless people. They just never had a reason to believe there was anything worth finding in a menu that looks, at first glance, completely unremarkable. That's really the whole story behind every single entry on this list. Nobody skipped these features on purpose, they just never got a reason to go looking. Spend 15 minutes in your own settings menu this week, not fixing anything, just scrolling through slowly. The way you'd wander through a hardware store you've never been in before, picking things up just to see what they do. You bought a car with more personalization built in than most people ever use. The only thing standing between you and it is 15 minutes and a little curiosity. Every single feature on this list was already paid for the day you bought the car. All that's left is actually using what you own. If even one of these 13 was new to you, then there's more coming up. Click on the left and I'll see you there.